Hey guys, Anthony Peluso here, founder and CEO of Wealth for Life. How you doing? So, here we are again to talk to you guys and update you guys on what's going on in this current economic climate that we're all a part of. And that's the thing that you start to realize. This economic epidemic hasn't missed anybody. No matter where you are in the world, we're all feeling this, okay? But it's not all bad news, okay? And I'm not going to deliver to you guys the bad news, because as I keep saying, you guys can get that off TV, right? And in the comfort of your own home. I am going to tell you guys what's real though, okay? Because there's a lot of things that as a society we all need to confront and accept. But more importantly, rather than keep you down on the ground beaten up, is how we get back on our feet and not just survive. Because nobody was born to just survive, okay? We're all here to just thrive, to smash it, right? So it's important to understand how we get from where we are now to where it is we want to get to, okay? A little bit about myself, for those of you that don't know me. I've been investing in real estate and wealth creation now for, we'll get past this, real estate and wealth creation for about 20 plus years. I bought my first property back in 1998, seen a few property cycles, was a part of, I haven't seen all the doom and gloom that, guys in their 60s and 70s have, but I was certainly here during the global financial crisis that took out, most of us. More so if you're over in the US, okay? I still don't believe Australia felt it as much as what the US did. But I've been investing for 20 plus years, started this business back in 2006. Got multiple businesses here, including a property advisory, mortgage business, media company business. And I've seen most of what there is to see when it comes to real estate, okay? I've personally built a multi-million-dollar property portfolio from the same education that we teach and the same strategies we advise our clients on. And the thing to take into account is what's good for you guys is what we do ourselves. So most of my staff are investors and they take on board the same advice, use the same blueprint wealth creation model that our clients do. So we're all in this together. I've educated thousands of people all over Australia on how to invest in real estate, but more so create wealth. Because for those of you that have worked with me and our company, you know that a couple of properties here and there isn't going to create any wealth, okay? It's the big misunderstanding that there is out there in society. Oh, let's just invest in real estate. No, man, you don't want real estate, right? You want indestructible wealth, okay? You want continuous cash flow. You want your assets to appreciating in value. You want your assets protected. And at the end of the day, you want to be able to, you want freedom, right? A quality of life for you, your family, and your loved ones. And there's nothing more than where we're at right now that kind of signals to us, just how far away we are from freedom. If you think about it, right? And I'm not going to debate this, but we're literally imprisoned in our own homes, okay? For obviously our own safety, right? But just have a look at the way we're living our lives right now. Someone sent me a really cool meme today. It was like I'd like to cancel my 90-day trial in 2020. I want a complete refund and cancel my order. All right, I have to laugh at that one. But it's not all doom and gloom, guys, okay? I won't talk too much more about myself in terms of what I've done. If you know who I am and you've seen our clients' results, you'll understand that we are the real deal. We're going to take every single one of our clients through this, our families, our staff. We're going to take them through this current economic epidemic, and it'll be a brighter future on the other end. So, talking about what you can do right now to ensure you set yourself up for the future. Okay. So the world and the economy as we know it has come to an end. Okay, that doesn't mean that that's bad news. It just means that we need to do things differently. Okay, what's worked for you in the past may not necessarily work for you in the future. Okay, most of us right now are finding massive holes with regards to our retirement and financial planning strategy. Okay, like you think about it right now, it's education or and financial illiteracy that's put us in this position. Okay, more so education. Because none of us should be in the situation that we're in right now. Not one single person. From the person that has their beauty therapy salon, to the hairdresser, to the guys downstairs that can't keep their cafe business open, none of us should be in this position right now. So you've got to accept and understand why you're here. And it's very, very easy to blame, the boogeyman and the virus and the economy and the president and the prime minister. That's not going to change your situation, because your dependency, your continued dependency on the government and your working income will be your downfall. I've been talking to my clients for forever with regards to financial well-being and financial planning. And if you've worked with my company, you'll understand that when we go through our wealth model, we've actually planned for events such as this. Okay, probably not as big as this, because this one's really taken everybody out. But you've got to invest for the bad times. Your investment strategy, a sound investment strategy, should take you through times like we're going through right now. So this has really been a wake-up call to the entire world, and how you respond will determine where you end up when this is said and done. Okay, so the biggest risk, I've always said, if you've watched my webinars and seminars, the biggest risk has been one income stream. Okay, now for a lot of our clients right now, I know for a fact that they've got multiple income streams. They're not hurting. Well, they wouldn't be hurting as much as some of the other people out there, right? But you need to ask yourself, why am I in this position? What is it that I failed to understand or get educated on or do that's put me in this position? Okay, where my income's at risk, my health is at risk, my family's livelihood is at risk, where you depend on your government, even your employer. Right? You should never be dependent on any one thing for your financial well-being. Okay? You need multiple streams of income. So if one gets taken out, you got plenty to fall back on. So I'll talk a little bit more about how we get through this towards the end of the webinar tonight. But the one thing right now that's on everyone's mind is employment. Okay? What happens? What do I do if I lose my job? And how do I invest? How do I look at creating wealth from this starting position, given the uncertainty in the world right now? So rather than actually take you through it myself, I was fortunate enough this morning to be able to get on a phone call with one of my trusted advisors, a very, very good friend of mine, and accountant, Jon Traynor from the Field Group. Okay, I've known Jon for a while. He's actually related to me. So, and he's been working with our clients for a very, very long time. And more important than that, he runs an incredible practice out in the eastern suburbs, and specializes in looking after business owners, small, medium enterprise clients. And I thought I'd bring him on board and talk to you guys about what this means to you if you're an employer, and what it means to you if you're an employee, from an accountant, from a different viewpoint. And Jon's a lot more than an accountant. He's an incredible business advisor to so many. So without further ado, I'll get you guys over to an interview that I did earlier this morning. So Jon, maybe give us a little bit of background about your firm and what you specialize in.
Yeah, so thanks for the great intro and saying we're an accountant. Hopefully you don't hold that against me. We're an accounting firm in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne, where our traditional clients, your small business owner, but we do, quite a lot of work outside of that with, investors and their tax obligations, and then bigger businesses and managing, their finance functions. Team of 35, so we've got some scale about us. It's not just me, and obviously pretty busy at the moment with COVID-19 and helping our client base.
Awesome. Well, which brings us to the whole session that we're having with you tonight, mate. So, from your viewpoint, obviously, and we'll get into some specific questions in a minute, but give me your general viewpoint, John, in terms of how your clients have reacted, and as a firm such as the Fuel Group, how have you had to react to address the current environment?
Yeah, so you've got there's a few parts to that. So each client's reacting differently, from your gyms, your cafes, hospitality, who are having to lay off hundreds of workers, and dealing with the payroll around that. And then you've got your other businesses, which maybe they were in trades where they haven't been impacted yet, or you're a business which, let's say you're doing hand sanitizers and it's boom time now.
Boom time, yeah.
You're a gin manufacturer who's now, moved yourself into making those sort of products because now there's the demand for it.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, one of the things I always, I've got to be careful what I say here, but you got to be able to take, my view is you've got to be able to take the positive out of this. And yes, this has hit everybody, and no one in any industry across the world is going to completely escape this. But just tell me you covered it off, but what opportunities are you seeing out there, and how are people having to restructure their business? I mean, I'll give you an example. Like you mentioned the gym equipment. Like one of my personal trainer, as an example, he's gone from seeing people face to face in a warehouse, 30, 40 people doing a boot camp. And, the positive out of a situation like this is he's now created an online personal training business where he can reach many, 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 many more clients, different times of the day, still charge him for it. The clients get to do it out of the comfort of their own home. He gets to do it out of the comfort of his own home. The amount of money he saves on travel, petrol, car maintenance, doesn't have to get up at 4 a.m. to see a silly idiot like me at 5 o'clock in the morning, right? Everything's done online. So I look at that and I think that's an incredible way to turn all of this adversity into a bigger opportunity. What else have some of your clients done out there?
And that's what we're saying is online. So you just look internally at ourselves, and we're a team of 35, and all of us are now working from home, having our, catch-ups at 10 to 9, another catch-up at 12:15. We've got government packages that are changing, by the hour, and we're having to catch up and do that PD remotely, which is a challenge when you've got kids at home and pets and your own online deliveries and everything else turning up. So it's probably, that's been a big change internally, but we're seeing clients also make that pivot. So they're really understanding because they're also in that same position. They're working from home.
Yeah.
They're doing their online workouts. And then, the other side is their businesses are pivoting. So they're moving online in terms of whether it's, contactless delivery, whether it's a product that previously they had on site, like gym equipment. They're now looking to rent that gym equipment out.
Yeah.
The gin manufacturers who are looking to produce things other than alcohol, everyone's trying to find a way to maintain revenue for this period, be it 3 to 6 months, whatever it ends up being.
Yeah, and of course nobody knows that one. But it's certainly gotten people to, if your business wasn't flexible, it sure as hell needs to be flexible right now, because it's got people thinking about doing business differently. And I've got to say, man, I don't think a lot of businesses will actually go back to the old way of doing things, because it's certainly, for me as a business owner, I've certainly found what I would call out points, being not a very good adopter of technology and online practices, versus we can just reach more people. I mean, just before, we got people contacting us from WA and and parts of the down the coast in Geelong. And it's like, man, it's incredible to have this technology available to us. So it gets everybody thinking differently. But, mate, we get straight to the heart of it. Small businesses, obviously employers and employees. The big question, I suppose, or that big, uncertainty for a lot of people is employment, right? Yeah. Tell us about, what the government's doing right now with regards to the stimulus packages for employees.
Yeah, so for employees, there's really been three things. So there's the JobKeeper package, which has been released. Now that package is aimed at employees, but it comes from employers. So it's your employer that's got to register for JobKeeper. And as long as they've had a 30% reduction in turnover, then their employees are eligible, which means you as an employee could be eligible for $1,500 per fortnight of assistance. Now, that eligibility means that business or your employer needs to have had a 30% drop in turnover.
Yeah. Right.
Now, for some people, that $1,500 will be a subsidy to their employer. So let's say they're getting $3,000 a fortnight in pay. Their employer may be getting $1,500 towards subsidising their pay so they can maintain the $3,000.
Yeah.
Your business may have been stood down, so you as a worker have been stood down, and your employer wants to continue to engage you, and then you will be getting $1,500 just for sitting at home.
Yeah.
And then you've got the scenarios which are in between that. So let's say you're getting $1,000 a fortnight now working, the government will top that up so that you are getting $1,500 through this COVID-19 period.
And the requirement for that, the criteria is that the employer needs to have shown a drop in 30% of turnover.
Correct, but you're really reliant on your employer to register for that assistance. If they, the thing to remember for them is they've got to cash flow it, so it's a payment in arrears.
Yeah.
So your employer, if they don't have the funds to continue to pay you $1,500 a fortnight because their business has been shut down, you're not going to be eligible for that JobKeeper payment. And then you move to the job seeker payment, which is funneled through Centrelink.
And tell us a little bit about that one, John.
So job seeker is where you can't get JobKeeper and job seeker. So job seeker is what is administrated through Centrelink or your MyGov account.
Yep.
And that's it's formally the dole, basically. So it's your unemployment payments.
Yeah.
Now, if you're eligible for that because you've got no income, you're going to get $565 per fortnight. So it's a fair bit less than the $1,500.
Correct.
But the government are topping that up with an extra $550 coronavirus supplement payment.
On top
so
of
you'll effectively be on $1,100 per fortnight rather than the $1,500 you would have been on under the JobKeeper package. Now, on top of that, they've got two other payments of $750 that they're going to release every quarter. So you'll get your $565, your $550 coronavirus supplement payment every fortnight.
Yeah. And
then once every 3 months, you'll get an additional $750.
Okay, so how are you finding that in the marketplace, like with regard, how are you finding employee, or is it too early to tell in terms of responding to that?
Well, before the JobKeeper announcement, what we saw was huge amounts of lines in Centrelink of everyone trying to get their government assistance. So those lines seem to have shortened since the JobKeeper announcement was announced. And I guess we're dealing more at the employer level, and the employers are trying to keep their workers engaged. So they're trying to find a way to get into that JobKeeper package so that they can keep their workers. But unfortunately, some businesses just can't cash flow that $1,500 payment if they've got no revenue.
Yeah, of course. Which brings about to employers. So what's the government done for I mean, I'm well across it, obviously, from a business perspective, but maybe you shed some light on what the government, some of the stimulus packages they've put aside for employers and how they differ.
So JobKeeper's an employer package, but aimed at retaining employees.
Yeah.
The other big thing that they've introduced is this cash boost payment, which is effectively it's a refund of your pay-as-you-go instalment. So the tax you're withholding from your workers for the 6 months from January 1, 2020. So that's capped at $100,000, and it's got a minimum of $20,000 on that payment. And it's based on the withholding that you've taken from your workers in that 6 month period.
Yeah.
So we're seeing that as a real boost for employers to give them some cash flow, but it's not really going to keep them, retaining you if you're an employee.
Yeah. Okay, got it. Well, okay, yeah, that's interesting. What about from an ATO? Like, how's their response? How do you find their response being, other than what you just mentioned?
Yeah, so that's one of the. I guess there's been other stimuluses which flow around that from state government. With if you're in Victoria, there's a $10,000 government payment which you can receive if you are a impacted business. So your cafes, gyms, real estate agents fall into that category.
Yeah.
And they're also giving some payroll tax relief for those employers with turnover more than 650,000. So state government have got a package. You've got the federal package being the JobKeeper and the cash boost. And then on top of that, the ATO are extending payment plans, deferring payment of lodgements. So you still need to lodge your BASs and your tax returns, but they're extending those payment dates by 4 months, and also looking to extend payment terms. So maybe long-term payment plans with businesses, with individuals who have got debt, to see them through this COVID-19 situation.
Yeah, and that's an important point, John, because there's a misconception in the marketplace that the ATO are actually cancelling them or deleting them, which is not the case. It's basically kicking the can down the road and deferring it for a period of time. Correct. Yeah,
correct.
Good. Now, tell me, in the area of superannuation, I know there's been some relief that's been offered via superannuation. You want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we're seeing the super as the last option. I'm not a financial planner, so obviously can't advise on whether you should or shouldn't take out the 10K, so I'll caveat there. But if you've lost your job or had a 20% reduction in income, then you're eligible for it's a $10,000 payment which you can withdraw out of your superannuation before 30 June 2020. And there's another $10,000 payment which you can draw post 1 July.
Yeah.
Now, to get access to that payment, you've got to apply through your MyGov account. But we're seeing that as the last option. If you've done your budget and your income's been hit, and you don't see another position where you're going to get your hands on capital, e.g. you can't reinvent yourself to get another job because it's pretty tough to get a job at the moment, I think you go to your banks first, and I don't know, you may touch on that in terms of your bank's your friend at the moment.
Absolutely.
And getting repayment holidays. Similar to the ATO, they're not wiping your mortgage, but they're still going to charge you the interest. They're going to capitalise that.
Correct.
But the bank's your friend at the moment in that never before have I heard of them putting a stop on repayments and saying, hey guys, you don't need to pay me for 6 months.
Mate. But that's what I said. Like, even banks haven't been immune to what's going on right now. The Reserve Bank of Australia is offering 90 billion right now to banks, and even more if the banks are seen to be lending to small businesses. So everyone's in this together, and I think the great thing that's come out of this is that we are all supporting each other. No one's going rogue and saying, "Hey, screw you," I'm going to go after you or anything like that. It's an incredible thing as humans that we're all, it has affected everyone. No one's been immune to this, and banks are doing their bit. The ATO's doing their bit. The government's been fantastic. Landlords, we deal with a lot of landlords, and I know overnight I think the New South Wales government introduced a rental stimulus package of around $40 million. We're waiting for something to happen in Victoria right now, so we're advising a lot of our clients on that. But it's good to see that everyone's supporting each other. Now, from your perspective, John, what are you telling? You get a lot of business owners, right, that will come to you, and what do you tell them to do? What should they be doing during these times?
So the boring stuff. So we go back to being an accountant, but a budget becomes almost number one here. So what are your expenses and what's your income? And then, going through that expense line to saying, hey, do I need all this, gym memberships? You probably don't need them at the moment. What are the other costs you can cut of that discretionary spend? And then from there, working out what are your essential costs, and then either speaking to your landlord, your bank, your utilities company, whatever, to try to get some relief from those costs in the short term.
Yeah.
So once you've handled your costs and you've got a fair grip on what that number is, it's then about what income can you bring in. So can you reinvent yourself to get some income in? Can you change your career? Can you go into something that's deemed essential? If you can, great. If you can't, you're looking at, JobKeeper. Is my employer eligible for that? Can I get that? Or the job seeker payments.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Excellent. And because you're saying earlier on, you tend to specialise more with the small, medium enterprise sector of the market, right?
Correct.
I mean, I always had the view that those guys really underpin our economy and are the lifeblood of this country. So, do you see anything else, John, that I know nobody's got a crystal ball, but are you looking at what else the government and, the ATO are looking to do if something further is needed down the track, if this continues?
Well, this JobKeeper package is, it's huge. So we talk about, we're going to be probably having another chat in hopefully 12 months' time, working out what taxes have been introduced to try to pay all this back. But the JobKeeper is going for 6 months. So the queries that we're fielding at the moment is what defines that 30% drop in revenue for that business to be eligible. Because you've got a lot of different businesses in terms of defining that 30% drop. You may be 30% up on last year, but 30% down based on February because you've got a growing business. So all of the queries from clients is surrounding that 30% and what that means. And we're still waiting for some legislation, some guidance from government regarding what that's going to be.
Yeah.
Now, if businesses are getting that for a 6-month period, I think that gives you a fair idea of where the government's seeing the economy going, that they're prepared to back that package in for 6 months.
Yeah.
And I guess our hope is that it's, we're in a better spot in 6 months, but the reality is we may not be, and would expect some further government measures to probably try to get us spending some money, because at the moment I'm talking about saving money and preserving cash flow and bringing in income so you can survive.
Yeah.
Well, the government want us spending money, so they're giving away this money so we spend it, and on the back end of this they're going to be wanting us to continue to spend money. So I'm expecting packages around us buying assets and similar stuff that's happened post GFC.
And that's the thing, mate. I've always said, you can never ever save your way out of anything. You can't save your way to financial well-being. You can't save your way to wealth. It's a part of the equation that needs to get confronted and addressed. But, as a country, we need to spend, we need to produce, we need to get products out into the marketplace. And for anybody to get through this, we've all got to go out there and look at our revenue, how we can add to our revenue. And more importantly, look at new lines right now, revenue lines that probably weren't on our radar 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So, excellent.
Look, Dan Andrews today, I think, mentioned that, post this, he's going to really be looking at the infrastructure projects and, getting those roads built to start to get people, employed.
Absolutely.
So, if you're a business in that construction industry now and you're looking to retract in the short period, you're probably not going to have your business positioned in a place to get those government tenders when those jobs start to land.
Correct. And I mean, and that's the message we're putting out to investors right now. You need to be thinking about how you look at through the other side of this, at the other end of this, right? Because we're certainly not finding the market dropping or collapsing like the pessimists out there are putting it. What we're finding is that the smart guys right now are saying, you know what, it's not a good time to sell. I'm just going to sit and hold on to my assets right now. All right, so we'll just hit the pause button, stay in a little bit of hibernation. So that's not causing blood on the streets out there right now with property prices. Okay, but it's.
Has anyone bought a house yet on a virtual inspection? Has that happened in Victoria?
Not that I'm aware of. I know that auctioneers are doing it tough right now. And man, it is one of those things where you've got to touch and feel it, and that's the whole thing about real estate. It's real, right? And you want to be able to walk through it and go through it. But people can still do that. So But again, like what we're seeing right now is people that wanting to buy their own home. It hasn't really hit investors so much, but people wanting to buy their own home. Just the amount of sales on the market aren't as much as what they once were. So people they're not giving real estate away because they're forced to having to sell. They're just sitting on it, waiting for this time to pass. And I think that's a good thing because that'll protect property prices as well. And given what the government's put in place for employers, employees, and even landlords and tenants.
So you mentioned before, we haven't seen the residential piece yet, but I think at the moment it's been clear that you've got to have a discussion if you're a landlord with your tenant and if you're a tenant with your landlord.
Absolutely.
To come up with some sort of arrangement that's going to get you through this shortened period.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, I think if you're a landlord, you've got to accept some sort of responsibility for the position we're in and the position the tenant's in and give a rent reduction. I don't think a full rent-free period, though, in this environment, given job keeper, job seeker, the tenants are getting some income and they do have some capacity to pay. I think it's just coming to what's that commercial amount of the reduction. And when we get out of this, that's not a permanent reduction.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. The only thing with that is you've got to have a look at. I'm certainly not advising landlords to do anything right now because I want to wait and see what the government's going to introduce in Victoria. Because when you start reducing your rent or giving free rent, it can affect your insurance policy. It can also affect what the government in Victoria is looking to introduce. So it's more of a case of hold out a little bit right now and just see what the government does. But mate, what we've been saying all along, man, human beings need to communicate with each other, right? The same way you communicate to your accountant and your utilities provider, tenants and landlords through their property manager need to be in really good communication right now. And it is about helping each other. Give some relief on the front end, knowing full well you'll get it on the back end, right? So there's many options right now, but we're just telling the people, just hold off right now until Victoria releases its stimulus packages for landlords before we make a move in that area. So
we're talking residential landlords there. So if you're a business in a commercial setting, you need to be eligible for JobKeeper to be able to go back to your landlord. And just to give you an idea there, if your business has had a 50% drop in revenue, the government's expecting that the landlord will wear half of that drop. So e.g., the landlord will take a 25% hit on the rent and that the tenant will wear the remaining shortfall. Or be it now or at a deferred period later in time. But they won't be getting a handout of 6 months free rent.
Understood. Mate, it's been great talking to you, John. Thank you so much. Any final thoughts that you want to share with regards to where we're at right now for either employers or employees?
No, look, I think it's the same. So preserve that cash flow, do your budget, whether you're a business or an individual, work out what your expenditure is. Keep an eye on the government assistance. So what are you eligible for and what does that mean for your budget? And then 3, obviously ask for advice. So if you're a Wealth for Life customer, you're going to be going back to the team there to see what you do with your tenancy. In terms of our clients, they're coming to see what does this mean in terms of government assistance and ATO. And obviously lean on your accountant, financial planner, mortgage broker, lawyer for advice in this period.
Good on you, John. Well done, mate. Listen, always good talking to you. For all my clients out there or people watching this stream right now, if you're looking for some speciality in the area of accounting and taxation, I can't recommend the Field Group anymore. They've looked after a lot of our clients for many, many, many years. John and the team there do a great job. And the great thing about their business too, that you can do all your transactions and communication with them online. You don't necessarily have to get in the car and head out to the eastern suburbs. So for anyone looking to either change accountants or what do you like to be called, John? An accountant or a CPA or?
Just a guy.
Just a guy.
No. So look, see, just an accountant's fine, but we like to think ourselves as more business advisors. But you can call me what you like.
Yeah, absolutely. And all my clients, they speak so highly of you and all the team there at the Field Group. So thanks again, mate, for joining us on this stream during this very interesting time, I like to call it. I'm not going to say too much about the fact that you're a St Kilda supporter. Okay,
well, I've got no hair, so I've got no hair for a reason.
In the background, we'll have to have that conversation about the mate. What is the latest in the AFL season? Are they just looking to just cut the whole thing out? Just cancel 2020?
They're saying 17-round season starting in July, ending on what is it? New Year's Eve, isn't it? That's the plan. Maybe in a hub.
17 rounds on New Year's Eve. God, I tell you what, that'd be an interesting conversation. I wouldn't want to be the AFL if that's the case. But all right, mate. Well, good talking to you, my friend. We will speak real soon. All right.
Thank you.
Mate. Well, that was Jon Traynor from the Phil Group. I hope you enjoyed that interview. For any of you guys out there looking for an accountant or to change accountants or, get some really good advice in the area of taxation and business structuring and planning, cannot recommend his firm enough. They've been great to our clients for many, many years. All right, so property prices. Should you wait and see, or is it time to act right now? Now, if you know me, waiting has never been one of my strong suits, okay? Now, there's a lot of talk out there in the marketplace that property prices are going to plummet and property prices are going to crash. And I think we've got that graph up on the screen right now. You can have a look at what the property market's done over the last, close to 60 years. But I personally think you're mistaken if you think that the property market's going to crash, okay? And there's many, many reasons behind this, okay? Number one, first of all, we haven't seen any indication of that right now. What you're finding is a lot of people are holding off on putting their property on the market right now and staying put. So that alone isn't going to create the bloodbath and the price drop that people are predicting or are waiting for, because most people are just going to ride it through these times until we get to the other end and then put their property back on the market. That I know for a fact, okay? I'm seeing that all around me. Now, obviously, there's going to be some that can't afford to hold and will have to put their property on the market. Now, not that you want to take advantage of human beings, but, what's one person's liability can become another person's asset, okay? So keep that in mind. But this is a crisis like all the other crises we've had there in the past, as you can see from that graph, and this too will end. Right now we're seeing the property market kind of on a pause a little bit, like almost hibernating, and given the stimulus packages, which, by the way, the government in Victoria, I know New South Wales came out, I think it was yesterday, but Victoria announced their stimulus package just today for tenants and landlords. Somewhere along the lines of, for the next 6 months, there can be no eviction or increases in rents if you're a landlord. Naughty, naughty. Two, there's a $500 million stimulus package for tenants and landlords. And a reduction in, I think it's land tax, where land tax can be put off. 25% of your land tax gets handled right now, and the other 75% gets put off until March 2021. There's an extra $80 million that they'll be giving to landlords to help out with holding on to their properties, and also tenants as well. I think if you're a tenant, you need to be earning, I think it's under $100,000 a year and have under $5,000 savings in the bank, and they'll give you up to $2,000, or the landlord will get up to $2,000. I haven't looked at it properly right now, but the company Wealth for Life will be putting out a release in the next 24 hours with regards to that. So now it hasn't been passed through the Senate just yet, or through Parliament just yet. Premier Andrews actually, spoke about this today. It's still there's a special emergency briefing, I think, next Wednesday, where they'll propose this in Parliament, and then that's what the landscape's going to look like for the next 6 months. But the message coming out of government, and what we've said all along, is you've just got to communicate. Landlords and tenants need to be communicating right now, okay? We need to help each other out. Because the reality is this, guys, and I'm starting to hear some really silly stories out there about landlords and tenants, but how you treat people in bad times will decide how those people treat you back in good times. So keep that in mind, all right? No one's escaped this pandemic, okay? So have a look at where you can help others out. Obviously, look after yourself first, but have a look at where you can actually help others out as well, okay? So I'm not predicting that the market is going to crash or plummet like most people, pessimists out there, thinking. So what are investors doing right now? So what are the smart investors doing right now? Well, again, I'm going to keep this one short, but I'll actually, I'll talk about more about this next week. But actually, smart investors right now are actually doing the exact opposite to what the masses are doing. Okay. It's kind of one of the reasons why they're smart investors, okay? They look at what 95% of people are doing over here and they do the exact opposite, okay? These guys have been here before. They know they're going to be here again, and they've always planned and prepared to take advantage of a situation like this, okay? So their confidence is never shaken, and this is actually where they make most of their money, okay? So a sound investment strategy always has a situation like this planned for it, okay? Whatever goes up comes down, right? It's never going to be great all the time for investors, okay? But over a 60-year period, as you can see, it's done quite well. But you just got to have the right investment strategy where it can cater to situations like this, okay? Now, if you're a employee and you lose your job, what do? Well, if you lose your job is to find a job, okay? For most of you out there, if you lose your job, you've got the job seeker package that Jon spoke about earlier on. And obviously, it won't be a time for you to invest right now. But if you've got that uncertainty with regards to your employer or employment, the first thing you need to do is talk to your employer. Confront and have a conversation with your employer. Because as an employee, it's your job to look after your employer as it is your employer to look after the employee, okay? So what do you do if you're an employee right now? Help contribute to your company's revenue. I mean, you should have been doing that all along, right? But help contribute, because if your employer does well, you do well, okay? It's really, really important to understand that. And help promote your employer's brand, their business. This is for everybody out there, okay? If you're an employee and you work for an organization, get the message of that organization out there, because the better they do, the more chance they have of looking after you. All right. So it's certainly interesting times right now. But again, to wrap up, guys, with regards to the property market, because you guys are all investors out there, the Reserve Bank of Australia and the government has come to the party with regards to stimulus packages for investors, landlords, and tenants. Bank interest rates remain at an all-time low. I think they're at 0.25%. I'm even hearing stuff like principal and interest loans fixed for 3 years just sitting above 2% right now. So the Reserve Bank of Australia is also providing $90 billion to the banks, and even more if the banks flow that money through to the SME market. Interest rates are going to sit pretty low, or at the rates they're at right now for the next 3 to 5 years. Okay, so the message is the same. Number one, what's the first thing you do right now? Okay, confront the situation. Okay, there's no point sitting on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter all day and burying your head in the sand and just flipping between CNN, NBC, Sky News, and whatever. Right? That's not going to help you or anybody. Okay, it's going to send you down to feeling more and more depressed. Confront the situation. This is where you need to understand shit. These are the holes I have in my life right now, and that may not just be financial. Okay, confront your situation, accept where you are right now, because that's the fastest way for you to get out of this. Okay, so the first thing I do is take inventory on your assets and liabilities. I'm not saying this is for everybody, right? But where you need to, for a majority of you, you'll have to halt your spending. Have a look at where your money's going right now. I mean, my household's done, similar, like conversations we've had to have with my wife, and kids. It's because this has affected everybody. So just have a look at what you're spending your money on right now and see whether you actually really need it. Okay, right now more than ever, your money should be attracting more money. Okay, so the stuff that's not essential, get rid of it. Okay, or at least put it off for now. Make a list of your assets and liabilities. Okay. And then start putting a plan forward. How do you start to get your money to work harder for you right now? And if you're in a position where your job is safe, it means your income is safe, and you're in the right industry, and you can borrow money, get your ass out there and borrow money and invest. because there are incredible opportunities out there right now for smart investors. This is where smart investors take advantage of the rest, okay? And I said this last week, you're going to have multi-millionaires that are going to be created out of this current economic scene, okay? Don't just sit there and wait. Nothing good ever comes from waiting, okay? Nothing good ever comes from waiting, okay? So have a look at your current situation and confront it, okay? So guys, listen, that's about it for tonight. I hope you guys have got a lot out of this. I love doing this. I love doing this and sharing this information with you. There is so much more I actually want to take you guys through. But you know what? Do what smart investors do, and that's give Wealth for Life a call and sit down with us and have a look at how we can actually help you get to the other side of this, okay? I've always said it all along. Number one, your biggest risk is one source of income. Number two is the gap between property prices and people's incomes are getting wider and wider and wider. And number three, keeping your money in the bank is the worst thing you can do. Okay, so people, you'll say, well, Anthony, you know, I need money in the bank right now. I need to live. I need buffers. Sure you do, right? But as a retirement strategy, absolute no-no. Okay, so get your money working for you. Next week we're going to be running another one of these. I'm going to bring these to you guys as often as I can, because education or lack of is what's got us to where we are right now. Okay, I'll explain more about this in the coming weeks, but it's financial illiteracy and what gets taught in our school system that's crippled this society, and it's crippled basically most parts of the world. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing a lot of this with you guys over the coming weeks. Next week we've got another special guest, my buddy in arms, Travis McLaughlin, who's our in-house mortgage broker here at Wealth for Life. It's a money game, okay? It's a money game. So Travis is going to share with you what the banks are doing right now, how they're responding to the current environment, and the opportunities that exist, some of the interest rates, some of the products and services. So there's a lot of good things ahead, guys. Keep your chin up, be good to each other, look after each other, help promote your businesses that you work for, help promote yourselves, right? And give us a call at Wealth for Life, because you know, me as an investor and as a business owner, so I've been here before. I've been through this before. I know how to get through the other side, and I know what you need to be doing right now. And we'd love to have a chat with you and see whether you know we can set you up for a better end to 2020 than the start we've had. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.